Psychiatric Social Work from Madras University, Chennai. Dr. Samuel has over 2 decades of experience, including a stint in the UK. He works with people having emotional, behavioral, and psychiatric issues. Currently on the academic roster and the board of many organizations, Dr. Samuel is also a trained practitioner of cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. Raviji has published multiple papers and articles, authored authoritative books, and appeared on several television programs. He's based out of Chennai, India. The Eklavya family and our participants wish you a warm welcome. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I want to congratulate and appreciate Eklavya Foundation for this wonderful service that you are providing for many people who have no other place to go to seek support. So, my well wishes will always be there and always open to participation whenever you invite. I take it as a privilege to be here. Today, we are going to discuss about a very important topic. I'm in this field last 33 years. I keep seeing this repeatedly. People having people having multiple problems in life, sometimes even leading a very unhappy life. It could be in the form of, sexual abuse in the childhood, or a person whom they loved leaving the relationship suddenly, or a marriage falling apart due to all the wrong reasons when they were doing all the right things in a marriage. The suffering is something that you cannot fathom because it reflects in their thoughts, it affects their emotions, it affects the choices that they make on a day to day basis, thereby leading a very distressed life, sometimes with lots of compromises. Only their pillow knows the pain and the anguish that they go through. Nobody else knows because they cannot share some information. Others may not understand what they are talking, even if they try to express, others may not understand. So many a times, what happens is the suffering is very silent, which makes the pain much more intense, that they experience it on a day to day basis. The most unfortunate thing here is if they come across anything that even remotely resembles their past, like a song from a movie that they both watch together, or a sequence in a movie that happened at that age in which they were abused. Abuse not necessarily has to be sexual. There are people who are not given proper food on time because they lost a mother, they were living with a stepmother, father not being in the house because he was busy with business. It can be in the form of exposure to things which are beyond their reach. Sometimes, even very intense quarreling between father and mother can cause very high distress among the children. I'll give you an example. There was a family, a very wonderful family, father, mother, and son. One day, unfortunately, there was a fight between the mother and mother's in law. At the end of the fight, the mother said, "Let me kill myself. There's no point in living." So this guy went and said, "Let me also join you in this." The mother thankfully did not take that decision, but the child was constantly living in the fear of losing the mother. When he went to the school, all he could think was, if when I go back home, will my mother be there? Or will I be told something else? This constant fear prevented him from focusing on his academics. You can just imagine how traumatic it could have been for a child. So, this is how people experience problems. Now, the very big question comes, why should I come out of it? How do I come out of it if I decide to come out of it? What are the steps involved? Today, we are going to look into these factors. Now, first and foremost, the reason why we should come out of it is purely physical, physiological, because the more you brood, either it triggers sadness in you, which affects you because your brain gets very depressed because all the inhibiting neurotransmitters are affected, all the excitatory transmitters are affected. Then you go into a state of dullness, which is neither depression nor normal. So it's very fogged kind of an emotional state. The second is you can keep thinking about it and trigger anger inside you. And that anger, without any outlet, can lead to production of cortisol, which can be very, very harmful for your heart's health. So either way, whether affects the mind or the body, one way or the other, you are the sufferer. Like Buddha said, getting angry is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. So it only affects the person who is suffering. The other person is oblivious to it. He or she is, leading a very different life. So your health is a foundation on which we need to build the closure, because closure is a decision. You need to make that decision. I'm not going to suffer from this anymore. I'm going to bring an end to this suffering. Now, when we say closure, does it mean I will forget whatever that happened? Certainly no. Your brain is a bit tricky organ. When you make yourself a decision like that, I don't want to remember this anymore. Mind you, your brain will constantly keep reminding. On the other hand, if you go to bed and think, tomorrow morning I got a train to catch, I need to wake up by 4:30, exactly by 4:30 without an alarm you will get up. The internal clock works. So it's a wonder how your brain, which is so helpful on one hand, is so distressing on the other hand. So, what we are trying to do here is the memory remains. We are not touching the memory part at all. What we are doing is we are changing the emotions behind that memory. The most distressing emotion behind an event can be completely changed to becoming completely indifferent towards that memory. It's it's as powerful as when a person has lost a relationship because the partner cheated or anything like that. They live in distress, but after closure, they can even meet the partner and be pleasant to them and move on and not worry about it. That is how powerful your mind is, because once you change your emotions behind an event, Your brain no longer subscribes to the pain. The whole system of perception of pain and experiencing pain completely reduces. So we are looking more about emotions. How do I change the perspective that I have? There is something called Socratic questioning. We can do a lot of critical analysis, critical questioning. See, many a times what happens is people have certain wish or desire, and that desire makes them continue the relationship even though the partner is long gone. So the first and foremost thing is we need to stop that desire, which you might have formed during your childhood or your teenage based on reasons which are not very concrete. Maybe they were very superficial reasons based on which you formed trust on the other person and then found that they are not trustworthy. So your mind does not look at the reasons behind what happened. It just holds on to the trust that you had, the love that you kept, the emotions that you were showing to the other person. So basically, what we need to do here is we need to do critical evaluation of our judgment at that point of time, which obviously went wrong. So maybe we formed that judgment based on the wrong reasons. It can even be lending money to people. People who ask for money will always give a date. Somehow they come up with this magical date. 1 week from now, I'll return. 2 weeks from now, I'll return your 2 lakh rupees. Ladies and gentlemen, trust me, if someone gives you a date of return, they are not returning. They are just convincing you. Even if you do not give money, they'll feel sorry. If you give money, later you will feel sorry. So that's how that equation goes. Very rarely we get the money back. So the mind kind of psychs people to believe. So we need to first of all question that judgment. That judgment having gone wrong is a valid enough reason to question it and modify it. The second element is the trust you had on your own judgment, the trust you had on the other person. Very important that we shift from our thought processes to the reality. Many a times, the reality shows what the truth is. That's why friendships need a long time to get validated. Only after 3 4 years you actually get to see the true color in them, and if you accept them at that point, then it becomes a lifelong relationship. So our initial opinions, judgments can be faulty. It's very unfortunate that some of our thoughts need not be correct, but we become victims of our own thoughts, but we blame the other person for it. So, very, very important that we are skeptical about our own decisions in the beginning, even now, at whatever age you are, and try for validation. Because many a times I come across people who give money and sometimes they are retired. They had very little savings kept for their health, given and then not getting it back can be very distressing. That causes more harm than what they might have achieved with that money. So there is an error of judgment there, but just look at an elderly couple suffering because of, in all good intention, giving that money for a wedding, for a construction, for someone who was in short of money, and then they going through a lot of distress because that money was never returned. So we have to question our own judgment retrospectively, because we have come past that event by years. Now we have gained a lot more wisdom, knowledge, which enables us to think differently. So we have to use that to question the past and try to make a new judgment. See, some of the emotions are a bit complex because it's related to so many things, but you can change the core emotion of any event. Imagine there is a relationship breakdown. If you start analyzing it, if you start looking at what are the benefits of it, if you do a cost benefit kind of analysis as to how you were able to build yourself up better after that broken relationship, your perspective towards the past changes. See, interestingly, your present decision and your present perspective of the past changes the past event. Not in the physical sense, but it changes the perspective of your past event. For example, I'd like to give this very beautiful example of an young boy in love with a young girl who was his age. They both were in a relationship. This girl went to one college, this guy went to another college. When they both met after 6 months, the girl informed the boy that she feels more attracted to her classmate and that she wishes to develop a relationship with him rather than him. He was heartbroken. This was after 3 years of relationship. They both went separate ways, only to meet after 25 years. Both of them were married, but both of them had some attraction to each other. Both of them met multiple times. It got into a kind of a relationship. But this man found in every instance his judgment about her during his teenage were faulty, that she was actually being a negative influence on his life. After about 2 years, he decided that relationship is toxic to me. Had I been married to this girl, my life would have been miserable. Given her own married life, her husband's life. So this man came out of it and went on to lead a very beautiful life with his wife, minus any regret. This man was someone who was living in pain 24 bar 7 after having married, after having a child, living in constant pain, completely coming out of it. Zero pain after this episode. What happened after that was very interesting. He could meet her like anybody else and just get on with his life, focusing on his life. So, this is how the brain can influence you to come out of an experience. Here, he had a direct experience, but not necessarily we need to have direct experience. You can even do this just by analyzing, by looking at what your present life offers. We always have a tendency in our mind to glorify what we have not got. Be it a car, someone might aspire for a mid segment car, may buy a more luxurious car, but he will still live in a regret. When I wanted to buy that car a few years ago, I was not able to buy. Though at present he may be driving a better car. The mind always focuses on what we did not get and glorifies. And whatever we get, the mind becomes critical about it. That's why in many extramarital relationship beginning, we find the partner complaining about their spouse, thereby winning space in the other person's heart, because that's how the mind projects, to be critical about what they have and to idealize about what they have not got. Letting go of our attachment, is it possible at all? 100% possible. If you make an attempt, we are celebrating Kartigai Deepam here in Tamil Nadu, probably in the north also. If you make a decision, it requires certain ritual. If you say, okay, this is the end of my suffering with this Kartigai Deepam, I'm not going to suffer anymore. I'm going to change my perspective. I'm going to change my emotion towards the past by changing my judgment, my experiences. Then at least there is a beginning. And your mind, it goes the direction that you ride it. If you tell your mind, oh my God, what a miserable life. I miss this person. I'm very hurt. Then your mind comes and tells you, you both had such a wonderful time in the 1980s. Now she's not with you. So your mind collects information which supports your argument. So the moment you say, I want to come out of this, no longer I'm going to suffer, then your mind collects information, facts to support your case, why you should move away. Because there is some internal processes going on, what we call as metacognition. It supports what we try to do, what we subliminally try to achieve. See, the other thing we need to do is find support systems. It could be a friend who is understanding of your issues, or it could be group of friends who don't talk about this but something else. You need to use that emotional support system to relate to different emotions. The more you do not think consciously, see, there are two things. One is thoughts coming to our mind. There, you need not engage with that thought. Like how we do not engage when someone talks about, say, for example, we go for a wedding. We are all dressed up. We are looking forward to meeting people. We are looking forward to nice food. We are looking forward to a nice evening. Then someone comes and talks about some death issue. We kind of gently discourage them and tell them, we'll talk about this later. Today, we are in a different mood to celebrate. So we disengage from certain topics. Similarly, with the reverse, we will not do in a death house. We will not sit and be discussing about a wedding. We'll gently tell them we'll discuss this later. Now let us keep quiet and observe silence. So if the thought voluntarily comes to your mind, there are different strategies. If it involuntarily comes to your mind, there are different strategies. The first one is disengagement. Do not engage with your own thoughts. You can distract yourself, or you can have some very positive, powerful quotes which will shake you out of your emotions. It could be from your religious text, it could be from your literature, or something that appeals to you, or it can even be a motivating factor. For example, there are people who have taken a relationship break due to their financial status as motivation to do better in life and to raise the scale and be in a better position and to lead a better life, to the extent others become very jealous. Yes, it has happened. So there are many changes one can make depending on what was the painful event that they experienced. If you succeed in not engaging, Then the second level is you trying to create a new reality for yourself, a new perspective for yourself, which forms a better well being for you, which takes away all the negativity. See, one thing we need to understand is based on one past negative event, we cannot become a bitter person because life is far bigger than that. People who had love failures have gone on to meet others and have moved with better partners and live happily. There are people who do not engage with others, live in isolation, glorifying their past relationship, and lead a miserable life. So, there are certain decisions we need to make to focus on the present as to what we can do which would have an impact on our well being. Sometimes it can be a distraction, or it can be something that you can do which will improve your life. If those thoughts are voluntary, then you need to make a decision. I'm not going to recollect this anymore because your brain understands you like this. This gentleman enjoys these thoughts, so let me give more and more of these thoughts to him. Then we are very distressed. Oh my God, why am I thinking about this? It is causing so much pain to me. The more you tell yourself, no, I do not want these thoughts. These are very disabling thoughts. These are of my past. Now, let me not continue this. It can be an event like today, Kartike Deepam, or it can even be your age. When I look at people, I encourage them to come to validate on some aspect. It can be age, okay, I this happened when I was 25, now I'm 50. Now let me move past this and lead a life. Or I'm 60, let me move past. So some kind of a cutoff, a ritual, a cut-off event. It is all abstract. Our age has got nothing to do with the way we live, but it is just using that as the anchor point. Enables us to remind ourselves, okay, that is in the past. Now let me not subscribe to it anymore. Like how people keep saying, those were the days. So the more you keep saying those were the days, you're more and more disassociating with those thoughts. The next thing you need to do is, mind is like a empty space. If I give you 1 acre of land, what can you do with it? You can put all the garbage of the past in it and make it stink and lead a very miserable life living next to it. Or you can create a beautiful garden and go every day and walk around it and enhance your health, enhance your well being, enhance your mental health. The same analogy applies to our mind. What kind of thoughts do I have in my mind? Thoughts are like trees, plants. Do I think of all the beautiful things that happened in my life? All those who had contributed for that beautiful life. We are all not living in isolation. Today I'm here because I know Mr. Ganesh ji and he invites me. So this is how we network with each other. At the end of it, it's all mutually beneficial. We all benefit out of it. We feel very good. I feel enormously good being here. The very fact that someone might get help from this talk. Someone might have a different life from today onwards. So, this is how we can fill our thoughts to be a beautiful garden in which we walk around. We cherish those ideas, which makes us happy, which makes us appreciate ourselves for all the beautiful things that we did. for all the efforts that we had put in. Just imagine in a day how many activities we do, how many people benefit out of it, how we benefit out of it. So many people have contributed to that performance. So there are zillion things that we can cherish as against few thousands things that we feel the pain. So the space has to be filled with events, memories. Always, when you find time, bring the best out of your past so that your perception of your past changes, moves from a very negative one, because the brain is very conditioned. If you keep recollecting negative events, you will attract more negative events and you will experience more negative emotions, because the brain gets conditioned that way. If you're someone who feels a bit anxious, then your amygdala gets overstimulated, your temporal lobe converts it into a daily experience, so everything becomes a bit scary experience. That's why few people, when they have bad experiences, completely isolate themselves and become loners. They do not associate with anyone for anything. And interestingly, you will find that socialization is one aspect which prevents cognitive decline. That is the importance of meeting people and socializing with them on a very deeper level. So let not few bad experiences affect your overall perception of people, perception of your own self, perception of your emotions, and perception of your life, because your life is far too bigger than few small incidents that happens. So anchor it to an event, to a date, to a, even it can be a trip to a particular place like a temple. You can visit a church, you can visit a mosque and say, okay, this is the end of my suffering. You can visit a gurdwara based on your religion and bring it a closure. So it does not require any special place to go, some extraordinary effort to make. The second is, you need to convert the regrets into a positive experience. Anything that happens to us, there are two sides. Anything that we do, even if we drink some little water, it has an implication. If you are going to drink some water now, definitely in the middle of the night you may have to wake up. If you don't drink water, you are thirsty. So that's how there is always a contradiction between what we do and what we benefit out of it. So you need to convert the regrets into what you have achieved through that, even if they are of minor nature. Sometimes we have unresolved conflicts in our mind. The conflict could be very hidden or it can be very conscious, right on our face. To give you an example, an unresolved conflict would be having a desire to have become someone, even say a doctor, and not becoming one, but becoming a very successful businessman, entrepreneur, or even doing very well in a company. Your mind will stick to, oh, I wanted to be a doctor, but I never became a doctor. And that will continue to cause pain. So you need to say, it's okay, I did not become a doctor, but nevertheless, I lead a very wonderful life. So stop making your brain idealize the past, idealize something that we just desired. Many children want to become a doctor. If you very deeply ask them, why a doctor, why not something else? Number one, they do not know other professions. Number two, they do not know their own capabilities. That's why we find lots of professionals getting into medical field, but only few shine, and we have very few stars coming out each year. If I have to name who are all the stars neurologists, they are only a handful in the whole country. Whereas each year there are thousands coming out. So the mind kind of psychs us to believe certain things. The second thing is there are very unanswered questions in our mind. Imagine if you are bitten by a bee, you can ask yourself lots of questions. Why did it bite me? Why it had to sting me of all the people? These are questions which can never be answered. Sometimes seeking answers for these questions itself could be causing the pain because we may never get a proper answer. Even if you go back to your ex or someone who cheated you, you're not going to get a proper answer as to why they did whatever they did. They would have just moved on because they felt comfortable at that point of time. So some of these questions that props up in our mind do not have an answer, or at least do not have a proper answer, and there is no reality check for it. So better to close those questions with a overall abstraction that on the whole it was a very painful experience. Now knowing about it or not knowing about it is not going to give me any relief, so let me go past this. The fourth thing is, how do you identify with the pain? Unfortunately, there are people who can get habituated to the pain, meaning they feel comfortable with the pain. They would be in the pain than come out of the pain because it's a comfort zone. Just try shifting your watch from your right hand to the left. If you have the habit of having your watch in the left hand, the brain does not allow you at all. It will just say it's okay today for a few hours because doctor said so. You just tomorrow morning you go to your left hand. That's more comfortable because the new thing is not comfortable. The brain is not used to it. So it pushes you to go back. Try to exercise. Your brain says, today it's very rainy. You relax today. Tomorrow you will do. You can do. The next day, it finds another excuse. Third day, it finds another, because it pushes you towards a comfort zone, and the comfort zone is what you do very often. If walking is the thing that you do very often, then your brain will not let you relax at all. It will say, even if it rains, walk inside the house, walk in some shade, take an umbrella and walk in a safe place. So the brain will do what you consciously do regularly. If you consciously take a decision, no, I will not experience pain anymore, I want to have a better emotional experience. If you do that consistently for 40 days, then it becomes a habit. And then the brain sees that as the comfort factor. Sometimes we blame our brain that I tried, doctor, but somehow I'm not able to do it. I get back to my old self. That's why a lot of people, though they know they need to exercise, they don't do that. Let us take the example of a diabetic and a sweet. The person with diabetes knows he should not eat sweet, but looking at the sweet, he has a temptation. Just one piece today will not harm me. That's the reasoning they give. And then they have that. Then it is very tasty. Okay, another one, once in a blue, does not harm. So let me take another one. So they take two laddus. After half an hour, the same mind which tempted them to eat those laddus is creating that guilt. Oh, why did you eat two laddus? So the person is kind of under surprise and shock. Oh my God, why did I do that? So he experiences guilt. So the same mind, but different states, different thoughts, different emotions. The same mind which was pushing him to eat what is forbidden is questioning him as to why he ate those as they are forbidden. So You can imagine how unstable our mind is, how transient our thoughts are, how emotions are so given to circumstances. So, these need some kind of lead, some leadership, some kind of a control, because these will take you in any direction. Like we say, it's like man on a horse. Man on a horse can go anywhere until the man starts controlling the horse. So that's how our mind is. So the mind needs a lot of control factor. So we need to control it as much as possible to head it in a particular direction. Now, it could be a relationship factor, it could be a project related work factors, or it could be year end moments. Try to anchor your thoughts on things which are better now, things which give you far more satisfaction, things which enable you to reconcile with the past. And this enormously helps to bring a closure. So, to conclude, we are thinking in terms of a decision, we are thinking in terms of anchoring, we are thinking in terms of disengaging with the past. We are thinking in terms of creating a better future which are free of the past. In all reality, the past does not exist. You and I know that very well. Only the impact of the past exists in terms of thoughts and our emotions. The moment we change our emotions through different perspective, anchoring, questioning ourselves by focusing on the present realities, on focusing on the fulfilling aspects of our lives, we completely bring a closure and completely changes how we look at the past and how we create a future which is more fulfilling than the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. That was very enlightening. Just to wrap up a little bit, what you had said, just to sort of get refresh our minds before we go into the Q&A. Trauma has many forms, and that's a good insight. It doesn't have to be one particular kind of trauma. The brain is a double-edged sword. It can work for you or against you, and your initial judgments may be incorrect. Change of perspective about the past is what matters. There's a tendency to glorify what we cannot get and criticize what we have. I think that was a very insightful thought. And the ability of replacing distressing thoughts with secure thoughts. And of course, life is bigger than bitter experiences. I think that's something to keep in mind. Let's look at the total view, not an isolated view. And you also suggested a cut-off ritual from bitterness itself. Do you have some kind of a ritual to cut off from the bitterness and try and bring the best out of your past? And the attachment to past identity or pain, that's something which you have to overcome. And finally, I just coined this. Maybe you have to unask the question as to why me? And thank you so much for that. The big smorgasbord of choices you've given us to come out of a difficult path. Uh, I now request the floor open to questions. You can post in the chat box and or you can raise your hand or just reflect on what you have to ask. We have another 10 minutes, and so yes, anybody having any questions, please.
Yeah, I have a question, sir.
Yes,
Sure,
Ritwik.
madam.
Yeah. So, sir, I would like to ask, like, so basically the session was amazing, but I would like to know which was the most um, challenging case you have handled.
The most challenging one I still go through are relationship breakups. When a person 100% involves in a relationship and finds their partner drifting away for all the wrong reasons, it causes immeasurable pain. And also see the person going through lots of difficulties later in life when they are well settled is something very, very painful.
And so how did you, how did you deal with it?
I normally help them to come to terms with their own, self by overcoming the pain of their relationship, by questioning their judgment, by, restructuring their own personal preferences, by questioning their idea of a relationship. They get involved with a person thinking that they will be committed to the relationship. When a relationship breaks up, that commitment is gone. So that is an anchor on which we can question some of our judgments about the relationship. And comparing with the present life their partner is going through, in case they know about it, enormously helps because they are contributing to the healing process. If they are not in the scene, if there is no data on them, then they have to restructure their lives based on the present partner that they have. Then they find that they have a better life. We always have certain childhood dreams. The first person with whom I fall in love, I need to live
With
a
him.
long-term relationship. Then reality doesn't present that. For some it grants that wish, for others it doesn't. So we need to restructure those childhood desires. There is always, when we hold on to a past, there is always a desire element in a relationship, that they still love that person to some extent, that they want to re-establish the past. They do not close down the desire element. So when they close down the desire element, I do not desire anymore for that girl because she made a mess of my life, is the starting point of change.
Thank you.
Thank
A
you, sir.
question in the chat box: how to segregate between emotion and logic while making some decision on any issue or topic?
See, there are two things always that's happening. One is the thoughts, the other one is the feelings. Feelings are very rational. It doesn't have rhyme or reason to feel whatever the way they feel. But reasoning is not like that. Reasoning are very, very specific, laser point accuracy. So the more you focus on the reasoning element, the more your emotions get aligned. For example, you might have become a non-smoker for all the good reasons, for the love of your health and love of your life and fear of death. Then you see a couple of friends smoking. You go there, stand with them, and say, "No, I do not want to smoke. And I feel very positive about my self control." Then your emotions are guiding you to that decision. Do not get tempted by the sight of the smoke or the smell of the smoke. On the other hand, if you think, okay, let me just have it tonight alone and not smoke tomorrow, that is the relapse point. You will start smoking regularly. So, the kind of emotions backed by reasoning or illogical influences the way you think and you feel.
Dr. Samuel?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, I'm Nayantara Kargutkar. I just want to know what is your opinion on EMDR to treat trauma?
It is kind of known to be very effective, and there
Right.
are people who have benefited out of it because it's a process oriented approach, and therapist helps you through the process. So it is like having a support system to overcome the trauma than doing it all by yourself. Sometimes you do not know whether you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction. So Having a therapist or a guide or a coach is always helpful. Whatever be the method, it could be a psychoanalytic approach, or it could be CBT, or it could be, any of these.
Thank you.
And is EMDR practiced in India?
Yes, very much, madam. There are few people
Okay.
who do practice.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, we have a question. What about relationships with mother being painful? Uh, I'm 65 and still hurt by her actions and who prefers and talk. Although I think I put it behind me. Yeah.
See, when you're in a relationship which is painful like this, there are two things you need to see. One is, what is this relationship trying to teach you? You know, if you look at the bigger picture of life, all our experiences has some meaning. You know, some of my own personal difficulties enable me to understand people in pain. Otherwise, I will have no clue what their pain is. Still, there are many experiences that I don't understand. It's very abstract pain for me. I do not exactly understand. So, when you're in a relationship which you have to endure, you need to see, what is it trying to teach you. The second thing is, what is it you can do to change yourself? You may think that the other person has to change, probably due to the age, due to certain fixed patterns of thinking, they are not changing. So, for your own well being, see, I would suggest that all of you become very selfish. Selfish in terms of your health. Because, anything else we can get it back. Money, there are people who are lost in lakhs and earned in crores. There are people who have lost property but got back sufficient and more. But you cannot, give me one example of someone who gained their health after losing it. Anything that affects your health, be selfish to put a full stop to it and say, okay, now what is it I can change to endure this? Be it your life partner, be it your mother, father, sibling, whoever, because there will always be a thorn in the flesh.
Thank you, Doctor. Another post. Thanks for the enlightening lecture, sir. Something I have observed is that my brain tends to attract similar people and events, where the whole thing ends in the same way, thereby, in a way, trying to prove certain beliefs that had been formed both about my own self and people. How do I get out of this circle?
Beautiful, beautiful. See, this again is something which we have to take a very larger perspective, because the common denominator is you. You're attracting the wrong kind of people entering your life. That's because you're looking at the wrong things in people. So, if I may humbly suggest, you need to introspect and see why you're attracting the wrong people in your life, and why you're not appealing, or why others who are more consistent are not appealing to you. Maybe you need to see a therapist in your hometown and work with them, because they will help you to identify. See, the most unfortunate thing about human mind, as I said, is the comfort zone. If you got into a toxic relationship and failed in that, you will seek similar people as your next partner, not someone who is the opposite of them, because it is something your brain got used to it. And also, sometimes our own internal structures are faulty, that it attracts the wrong people to trigger the pain in us. So it is little complex phenomena to understand for a person, because it is happening deep inside them. So you may seek a professional to change this vicious cycle, which can be extremely distressing and losing time and distress.
Thank you, Doctor. We passed 7. Can we take one more question, Doctor?
I'm very happy to, sir.
Okay. How to handle judgmental people and how to tackle situations when people are judging and entering one's comfort levels. So ignoring them is the only option or anything else, sir?
Wonderful question again. You're in some way disturbed by their judgment. That's why it is affecting you. So if you go by a better judgment, and if you don't subscribe to their judgment, you will be in a better place. The very fact that it disturbs you, you're saying you want to ignore it. And I don't think ignoring is possible, because if it is something that can be ignored, by now you would have done that, and it will no longer be affecting you. So obviously it's not something one can ignore. So go by your judgment. Do not get trapped by others' judgment. This can even happen in workplace. People can give faulty judgment about you just to make you psychologically weak so that you feel vulnerable and remain in the job. So that you're feeling vulnerable and don't ask for a hike, or even do not go and try for better positions. Can you imagine there are people whose self-esteem is completely ruined by negative judgments and opinions, that they have stopped believing in themselves. They have stopped trying out for better prospects. If only they try, they would be in a far better place. So that's how others' opinion can affect us.
Thank you. Am I pushing it or shall we just take one more question, Doctor?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Relationship between father and son, childhood experiences, father's anger issues, and being a workaholic. Son feels cheated because of father's behaviors. How to help son achieve closure?
See, this is a very beautiful question. Once again, I'm really touched by each of these. See, if someone is angry, you show them a lot of respect and show a lot of kindness, because they do not know, they do not have it in their system. For some bitter experience, they are giving out bitterness. So the more you're nicer to them, they may change or they may not change. That's a different issue. Even if they don't change, you're not hurt by their behavior. Number two, how do I bring closure to it? See, these are very deep rooted relationships. Sometimes our mind can get biased and look at only the negative aspect of a relationship. So you may need to take a 360-degree approach as to what your father has contributed to. Sometimes when the father contributes a lot of wealth, then we keep them in good esteem. Sometimes they would have contributed good health in terms of genetic load, which we don't appreciate. So you have to dig for the things that they contributed, directly, indirectly, giving you a life and all that followed. So change your perspective from a very narrow focus to a much broader focus that will help you to have at least a different perspective. And as I said, anchor it on something and bring about a change in the way you live your life.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much for the very enlightening and insightful exchange which we had. Not only Doctor, but the good questions and the participation. I think that was very, very informative. The Manjari would have posted the coordinates of Eklavya Foundation, and these Manjari, would you like to say a word or two?
Yeah. This session is recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel. I have given the link of this channel in the chat box below, or you can search on YouTube that Eklavya Foundation for Mental Health, and in couple of days this video will be uploaded. If you subscribe to it, you will get the notification. So thank you everyone. Thank you, doctor,
Thank you,
for the
doctor. Thank you, everyone, for being here
Thank
with
you.
us and sharing. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very
Thank you.
helpful, Dr. Samuel. Thank